You know, there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, this is Ty Tabor of King's X, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. And today, it's an honor and a huge privilege to welcome Ty Tabor of King's X. Ty has released his 11th solo album entitled Shades via Rat Pak Records, and that's out today, actually. Also, check out first single, Sister Genocide, and second single, Insane. Shades is the follow-up to 2018's album entitled Alien Beings. And you definitely want to check out Ty stuff because he don't disappoint, man. He brings it all to the table, of course, because he's with the mighty King's X. So, Ty, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Man, how excited are you to have this album out today?
Truthfully, I'm just relieved that it's finally out because it's such a kind of nerve-wracking thing all the way up to the release date. And so I'm just glad it's finally out there and people can hear it and, no more wondering.
How long did you have to sit on this, man, honestly, because the pandemic hit? Was this prior to the pandemic? Then you had to stop, or was this all during the pandemic?
I actually did this all during the pandemic because we got, stopped from touring for a while and I was just sitting at home. I decided I might as well go ahead and do the next solo album. So it was sort of because of the pandemic that I did it. And, timing just worked out that way because all of a sudden we had a lot of time on our hands out of nowhere. So yeah, turned out okay.
Yeah, but the good part, man, it looks like things are opening back up. I see a lot of bands posting tours, and I'm very excited to get out and see you guys rock out, man, honestly.
Thank you. Yeah, we're anxious to get back out there too.
Shades is your 11th solo album. Did you think you would have this many solo albums out at this time frame, man? What was your thoughts on the very first one and then concluding with this one, with the 11th one?
It's weird because I haven't really thought about it until I started seeing all these articles coming up promoting Shades. And almost every one of them is, right off the bat, Ty releases his 11th solo album. And it just finally hit me for the first time recently, like, wow, that's a bit of music. And just hadn't really thought about it. I've just been continuing to make music basically my whole adult life, and things are starting to add up, I guess.
Now, going from King's X to your solo stuff, man, does this allow you to release other stuff that you want to put out and be more free, if that makes sense, possibly?
Maybe in some ways.
Yeah.
But the truth is, even when King's X does something, all I do, if I'm writing music, it's just I'm writing music. And if King's X is doing something, I'll turn in whatever it is I'm working on at the moment. And so I don't really think in terms of King's X or whatever when I'm writing. So I just write music, and whatever is around, when I'm working on a project, whether it's solo or whatever songs are around are the ones that get looked at first. And sometimes I feel like I need to write new stuff to make it more complete. But in general, I just write music, and if King's X is doing something, whatever I'm writing at that moment, I'll turn it in, and we'll use some of it, we won't use some of it, and whatever is not used just goes back into the pile. And it may end up even on a Jelly Jam album or something, who knows, but nothing gets thrown away. I always look at music as, if it doesn't get used, all it means is it's just not that song's day yet.
Yeah.
And maybe it needs to be worked on a little more or something. So that's the way I am mostly about it.
You were dealing with the recent loss of your father when some of this was being written. I know this was difficult for you, but did this allow you to to heal, man, to get your stuff out onto paper to, to deal with this possibly. Because I know a lot of people do that, and I did when my father passed away.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it helped a lot. Because if you have an outlet for your pain, that is therapy, in some way. So I'm sure it did help me. I didn't really think about it. I just knew I had time on my hands. My dad had just died, and all of a sudden here I was with a new album potential in front of me. And so the first thing I had to write about, obviously, was just having just gone through that. And I wrote a couple really deep songs dealing with that. And after those two, come to think of it, maybe that did really help me, because I felt like I got it off my chest in a way where I could let it go for a little bit. And then I started thinking about other music, other things, other parts of life. And I just let those two songs be that, and let that be enough on that subject. And then I moved on. But maybe that is what helped me to move on, was just getting to do those songs. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people deal with it in their own way. And like you said, having an outlet, especially music for me, man, is just an addiction. I mean, I love it. It's like, give me that over any type of drug, anything. I mean, honestly, that's it, my man.
Awesome.
What made Sister Genocide the first track released off this album, man? What made it stick out to say, yeah, that's got to be the first one?
Actually, I didn't care what the first one was, and I just let Joe at Rat Pak decide, because to me, I couldn't think of a song or two songs for that matter, because they were going to put out two before the record came out. I couldn't think of any two songs that really represented the album, because the album kind of goes so many different weird places that I didn't know what would be best. And so I just said, Joe, you choose, and he did. And I trusted him on it.
So you added a few songs that didn't make your previous albums two shades. Let's talk about that just a little bit. What was the factor that made those songs be part of this one?
It just wasn't their day, like I said before. Whenever I attempted certain songs before, it just wasn't happening yet. I wasn't feeling it right. It wasn't magic. So, for instance, the song Sister Genocide was actually a song I did turn in for the new King's X album, among a bunch of other songs. And we did record it as King's X. But it just wasn't quite finding the magic. It just wasn't working for me. And so I asked if we could, drop it and let me just have the song back. And so that's how it ended up on the record. There was only one other song that was really old, or several years old, that I finally finished, and it came together, and I put it on the record. The majority of everything on there is just stuff that came, as new music when I sat down to do the record. So there was a little bit of old stuff in there, but just mostly new.
But are there any tracks on this album that didn't make shades that we could see on an upcoming EP?
Or yeah, there's a lot. There are always loads of songs that don't make any particular album, any solo album, any King's X album, any album. There are always loads of leftover songs that didn't make it.
So any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on this new album? I know these are your babies. I know it changes every time you listen to it, but are there any that stick out for you possibly?
Truth is, I'd stopped listening to it just because it was so intense doing it and hearing it for so often over and over and over and over in the studio, that I got, when you're doing it all yourself, by the time you get done with a solo album and you're playing every instrument, you're doing every vocal, you're mixing, mastering, everything. By the time you get to the end, you're ready for a break from the record.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I've been kind of giving myself a break from it. I did put on a couple songs last night just to kind of see how they stood up, after getting away from them for a bit, and I was okay with them. But I've kind of just been I'm too close to it for it to be something that having a song that stands out or anything. The whole thing is just one big thing in my mind.
I could imagine. I really couldn't imagine working on all that stuff and then just being sick of it and be like, let's go, let's get out and just have some new stuff to work on later. But my God,
That's how it is by the end of every solo album. I'm about done with it.
new to us, but you're like, ugh, get away, go, grow.
It might be fun. It might be a lot of fun to play the stuff live, but I might have to, wait a year before I go back to actually listening to it. We'll see.
What's the growth musically you've seen from yourself working on this album, if anything? And I know you've done music for a long, long time, man, and I know you can't stop growing, but what have you seen in yourself musically that's grown possibly?
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of better for other people to say in some ways. I know that for me, I'm always reaching for another twist, another something slightly different. I like things. I mean, my favorite music is Beatle music, and a lot of early Beatle music in particular is very simple music, but with a slight twist. Just something about it that is taking the familiar and doing something new with familiar. And that's what I always try to do. Is I'd like the songs that I write to be something that people feel familiar, but also have a couple of twists or changes in there or unexpected things to surprises to make it not be quite as boring or predictable. And I always try to do that, I think, with pretty much everything I do. I don't know if that's growing or what that is, but it's just always my intent is to push into new ideas and not keep repeating the same exact stuff over and over.
Are you wanting to take this out on tour, Ty, or just hold off for a while? What do you want to do with it?
Right now, my concerns and efforts are going toward King's X. We have a new album that'll be out this year, and we have a lot of touring ahead of us this year. And so I'm physically just trying to get myself ready for that. And I've also had a setback. Excuse me. I broke a finger on my playing hand very badly, and it's been a few months of recovery, and I still don't have 100% use of it. I still don't have a whole 100% mobility yet. But I'm doing physical therapy every day. I'm working every day, and it's getting better all the time. So even if I did want to go out and promote Shades at this moment, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm just not ready. And by the time my hand is gonna be ready, I'm counting on being back out there with King's X, and we'll be busy the rest of the year.
Is it hard for you to put a set list together for your own solo work?
I don't know. I've only done one live solo show before, so I don't really have a lot of practice putting set lists of my own stuff together. The only live solo show I ever did was down in Texas a few years ago, and that was it. I don't really go out and play my solo stuff at all, so I don't really have to worry about set lists.
When you do go out on tour, I would imagine it's going to be kind of rough to put everything in together with all this music out for you, though, for sure.
Oh, there's no telling. Yeah, I'd love to have that problem, though. That would be fun.
What do you hope everyone takes away while listening to these new singles, album, or just your music in general with your solo stuff, man? What do you hope they get from it, Ty?
I hope they get enjoyment, or actually it's not even enjoyment. I hope it touches them in some way, even if it disturbs or if it makes someone happy. As it doesn't even matter if it's where the knife cuts or if it's a happy thing. As long as it gets through to cause emotional feeling of some kind, then it's doing its job, as far as I'm concerned. Because I think music all is about feel and emotion more than head and analytics. So if it touches somebody in any way, even like I said, even in a way that's disturbing, then it's doing its job. That's what I hope.
Was there a song on the album that totally ended up sounding different than what it was brought to the table to, man? Was there a song that took, several changes before it actually said, yeah, this is finally it?
Well, I don't know that they had to necessarily have changes, but every single song sounded different to me than it should, because after I put my vocals on it, it's no longer a melody that was in my head. that sounded good. Instead, it's now got this voice that's a definitive sound, and that colors the song in a way that I never know what that's going to be until I do the vocals. And a lot of times it ruins the song for me, and sometimes it fits with the song okay. So I think every single song turns out different the second I start putting vocals on it, and then I have to reevaluate. Is my voice going to work, or do I need to change the vocal part? And then if I do, there may be changes musically to fit the vocals, but most of the time the music stays the same, and I just have to figure out how to make the vocals work somehow. But it's always a shock for me because it's never what I hear in my head. It never, ever is what I hear in my head. Mm-hmm. So it's always a disappointment when I hear my voice on it instead of what I hear in my head. And that does dictate where the music's going to go, or if a song works or not. So until I do that, I really don't know if a song is going to need changes or not.
I know you have a lot of music, man, still in your repertoire that you go back and listen to, but do you still have a go-to album, or maybe just a song that you find yourself going back and listening to from time to time that you have to listen to that album or song at least a couple of times a month or weeks or something like that, maybe?
Oh, I've got lots of music that are that way for me, but not of my own. I don't ever go back and have to listen to anything of mine. But yeah, there's a lot of music I put on regularly all the time. There's an album called IOU Live from Alan Holdsworth that I probably play more than any other album ever. Play it all the time for years and years. I love Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Tarkus. Anytime I'm working or painting on something, I'll put either one of those albums on and just let them loop. That album and the IOU Live are just so ingrained in me, it's ridiculous. I know every little utterance and sound on both albums. And so that's two real good go-to albums. But I've got several. I've got a lot of Beatle music I will have to pull up every once in a while just to recharge.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But I never listen to anything King's X or mine to do that at all.
What inspired you to start playing and making music, Ty? What was that spark for you? You said, yeah, I definitely want to try this and see where it leads me to.
They probably started with my dad playing guitar when I was so young that I don't even remember having the first thoughts of it. I just kind of always knew I was going to play guitar, from my earliest memories. So probably from my dad is where it all started, but I was very, very fortunate that I grew up during the real time of the Beatles happening. And I had a babysitter that was a Beatle fanatic. So anytime a new single came out or whatever, and then he came over to babysit me and my brother, we would get to hear the new Beatle music. Mm-hmm. And I remember as a kid, that being the most important thing in the universe to me, the next Beatles song. I was just such a head over heels fan. And lucky for me, I had that neighbor who was older, who was buying every single when they came out. And I had a dad and mom who were both very musical and played instruments. So I was always around music since my earliest childhood memories. And I don't remember ever not knowing I was going to be a guitar player. I just seemed to grew up assuming that almost. It's crazy.
What's your thoughts on this? King's X has influenced the likes of Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Dream Theater, and the mighty Pantera, plus many more. What's your thoughts on having that impact on these bands who has also made an impact, man, throughout the years?
Well, it's a complete honor. Beyond words. It's even better honor to be friends with a lot of people in what you just mentioned. And some of us have been friends for a long time. The guys at Pantera, we kind of went through all of this stuff from the beginning, knowing each other the whole time. I used to see them when they were doing cover tunes, and wearing spandex way before the heavy days.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
So I've known them forever. And when King's X first started happening and they first started happening, we ran into each other at a album signing, I think in Dallas somewhere. And we were like, yay, man, yay, good. Two Texas bands, starting to happen. And we just became kind of really good friends, rooting for each other throughout our whole career. And so that means more to me than anything. But the fact that any of them like our music is just a total honor.
What was your thoughts on seeing Pantera though the first time, and then seeing where they actually ended up bringing the heavy stuff from going from 80s stuff to like, wow, carrying a metal flag at the time when we needed it?
I was absolutely shocked when I heard their change. I couldn't believe it was the same band. It was hard to register, hard to even put it in. It was just very hard to register that what I was hearing was the same band I was seeing in clubs. It was entirely a different world where they found themselves. And once they did, man, there was no stopping it. Just an amazing force, you know.
Yeah, it's like I said, man, they came in and kicked the metal door open at a time that we needed it, honestly, because it's like you had the grunge and stuff out, which I have no problem with that. I love grunge music, but they came in and said, metal is still fucking here. Don't forget it.
Yeah, they were a huge force. Absolutely.
Folks, you want to get out and pick up Ty's new 11th solo album entitled Shades via Rat Pak Records. It's out today. And also check out the singles Sister Genocide and the single Insane. Please get out and support Ty. Pick up all of his stuff. Ty, how can folks stay in touch with you? Buy all this merchandise, tour dates, all this stuff, plus the King's X stuff coming up too. How can they do that, sir?
The easiest way would probably just go Tabor.com. And if you can't remember that, go to ratpakrecords.com. Or you can just go anywhere, you know, if you buy from Amazon or where, it's everywhere, you know, it's available everywhere. But if you want physical bundles with some extra bonus stuff, go to tytabor.com, and I have a link to Rat Pak there so that you can easily just go straight to it. And also tour dates are up there too.
Also, folks, I will have the links in this interview also when this post, so you'll have, there's no excuse to say, I don't know where it's at, because it's right here in this podcast link right here. Ty, before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Absolutely. Hey, this is Ty Tabor of King's X, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Please get out, check out our Facebook page that has our podcast link and our YouTube link, and please subscribe to the YouTube link, and get out and check out Ty's music. Pick up his 11th solo album entitled Shades via Rat Pak Records. It's out today. Pick up his other stuff plus King's X, and please, I'm telling you right now, you'll at least dig one song by Ty. Trust me, you will. Get out and support this guy. And Ty, man, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck as always. And thank you for what you guys have done for the metal world.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.